Good. One second. Relax. Good. It's working. That's good. Okay, I should talk. Okay, good evening. My name is Shimon Shur. Some of you know me, some of you might not know me. I've been associated with Hadar Torah for 56 years. And tonight we're going to honor a few people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was asked to thank Noah Wells, who's playing the keyboard, or Baruch Hadar Torah. Thank you very much. Okay. So tonight, we are celebrating the evening, 60 years of Yeshiva Kol Yaakov Yehuda Hadar Torah during Shnas Hakhel. And we will start with the recitation of the Rebbe's Kapitel and Tillim. Oh, the video's first? It doesn't say anything. Okay, play it.
In the 1950s, the Lubavitcher Rebbe sent shluchim to various cities where their spiritual messages were well received. American youth, especially those in colleges and universities, began taking an interest in Judaism. The shluchim could not provide what the youth needed. In 1962, Rabbi Avraham Lipsker, who was learning in 770 at that time, began learning with these young men. Rabbi Yisrael Jacobson Olav Hasholem, who was part of the Hanhola of the Yeshiva, loved what Rabbi Lipsker was doing and decided to open a Yeshiva program especially for these young men. After receiving the Rebbe's permission, he named the Yeshiva Hadar Hatorah.
Towards the end of 1962, entering to 1963, people started to come from all over the world to 770. Weren't sent by anybody, as they would say. They just heard about Lubavitch, heard about 770, heard about the Rebbe, they would just come in, pop into 770. And they liked what they saw and they wanted to stay. There was no place for them, no place to eat, no place to sleep for them, but they would just hang out. I don't know what they did. They probably went out to the restaurants and slept on the benches. Many of them did sleep on the benches. Since Rabbi Jacobson was very strongly involved, very encouraging, I guess he decided that I think they gave him a hard time from Dan Hall. Why all these bochrim are hanging out in 770, they're sleeping there, eating there, they're not paying anything. I think that was the pressure. So he went to Rabbi J.J. Hakhel and said, listen, let's open a yeshiva.
This was one of his pride and joys. This is one of the great, great things that he always looked forward to, and this was the thing that he always used to boast about. And he was very, very happy that he was able to accomplish this. I suppose everybody knows that Hadar was the first Baal Tshuva yeshiva in the world. He was able to accomplish it and to do not only this, but the Morristown was his and Beis Rivka is his. And the man went through an awful lot of suffering to carry through all the inyanim that were near and dear to the Rebbe.
There was a lot of dedicated people on the staff, and definitely one of them was Rabbi Shalom Novashevsky, who, if you ask around, there were hundreds of fellows, literally, that's not an exaggeration, that he basically nurtured, and he made them what they are. He was a very dedicated man. It was not a 9-to-5 job for him. He had Moshe Shabbos, would have, especially in the wintertime, would have Malava Malkas, and he was a very dramatic man, and he made Judaism come alive.
What we can see from this Maisa, we can see what means Emunah in a tzaddik, what means the delightful, holy eyes of a tzaddik. On another thing we are able to learn from it. And the worst situation of life, God forbid. Even you see, God forbid, the sword on your neck. Don't give up your hope to Hashem. On Yeshua as Hashem, the help of God is terrifying immediately. But we have the truth or strong emunah in Hashem.
It's very difficult for a person who doesn't have a yeshiva, who didn't grow up in yeshiva,
to fit in. And that can be very taxing on his whole involvement with Yiddishkeit. I feel now in the group of boys that you have learning in Yeshiva, there's a very beautiful sense of camaraderie and fellowship and care amongst everybody, a sense of unity. The Anhala, they're laid back, and a person can grow and develop and find out about his, can develop his talents and his skills, find about his feelings about Yiddishkeit. And there's not other places where you can do that. I remember one time I had to daven here because I had a yard site, and a member of my family came. He went away in his pilot. He said, this is what it's like. I'm sure this is what it's like in Gan Eden. Which means one person eating meat.
The great honor that I have to be honored tonight by Hadar Hatorah. I feel like the individual who was watching a drowning person from a cruise ship, ended up in the water, saved this person's life, and was asked to make a speech afterwards. He said, "I just have one question. Who pushed me?" Rabbi Jacobson, Olav Shalom, Rabbi J.J. Hecht, Rabbi Goldberg, Rabbi Vashetsky, Olav Shalom, all of the Hanhala, Rabbi Würzburg, every single person that had a part in pushing me to being a shliach in Berkeley, California for the last 40 years, I would like to say thank you for pushing me.
The Rebbe gave me brachas for success in all my endeavors. And along the way, he gave me many other brachas. And whatever I do for Hadar Torah is because Torah is emes, and whatever I do is to help myself and to help other Bacharim to learn the Torah as it says. This is a very important part of the world. And I firmly believe that the more you learn Torah, it's going to help the world, and it's going to help everybody. It's a big bracha, and we're going to bring Mashiach.
There was one such story where I had missed the Hasidic share. I came to davening, and I was expecting Rabbi Goldberg saw me. He comes up to me, and I'm expecting him to say, why weren't you at the Hasidic share? He takes my arm warmly. He asks if I'm feeling okay, if everything's well, and he genuinely, I could feel and I could hear his genuine concern for me, and that itself taught me a lesson. I've been zocher. I've merited to send several students there, and I hope, please God, to continue to do so. But the Rebbe, of course, said it best: "Demagavoya neshamas." They're very high-level souls. And this is not just the students; this is the faculty, and I'm very grateful for having Hadar Torah and continuing to have Hadar Torah in my life and to be a part of it.
I came to Hadar Torah knowing hardly anything about Yiddishkeit. And not only that, but like some of my other cohorts at the time, I was fairly rough around the edges. My time in Hadar Torah sometimes required some polishing and buffing to smooth out those rough edges, and other times maybe more of a rough sanding. But with Rabbi Goldberg, Rabbi Würzburg, Rabbi Ozdeba, Yaakov Silberstein, and the many others who were involved with the yeshiva at that time, they were really able to affect such change in my life, both as a Jew and a chassid, and just on a very human level. When you're surrounded by a hanhala that cares so deeply for you, but at the same time going through an upheaval for the better in your life. That's what makes it feel like a lifetime. That's what makes every moment spent in Hatorah life-changing. Changing, at least for me, who I was as a person, as a Jew, and as a chassid.
Shalom Aleichem, my name is Ruben Mizrahi, and I am from Caracas, Venezuela, and lived most of my life in Western Florida. And I came to Hatorah in the year 2019, and I was a bacher there for several years, and I was in Kolo there, and now I continue even as a married man and working man. I continue to go on Shabbos and spend lots of time there. For me, Hatorah is one of the most incredible places, one of the most special places I've ever been to. In Hatorah, I found what I had been looking for all my life, which was to see true, authentic Torah being practically implemented. Meaning to say that it was a place where I actually saw Yidden putting the Torah into their very lives. To me, that's something that I had been looking for, that till this day I have not seen in anywhere else in the world like in Hatorah. And it's clear that it has the Rebbe's brachas. It's clear that the Eibishter dwells there, and in that place I've grown beyond words. It has shown me, in my humble opinion, what to look for, what to strive for, what to try to be like, and how to truly make the Torah real. That we should breathe the Torah, we should live the Torah, and we should be Yidden that are truly trying to connect to the Eibishter, bring Mashiach in a true and real way.
This was, to be exactly, this was Tafshin Lamed Hey, Lamed Vov, maybe. And the Rebbe answered me, and since then I never questioned anymore. Told me, HaMesad hu muchach v'chiyuni. Those who know Hebrew, HaMesad, this institution, muchach is a necessity, v'chiyuni is vital. Ubivadai, and certainly, Yisgabru, they will overcome all the difficulties.
Okay, I'd like to call up Shmuel ben Yamin Gewurtz to say the Rebbe's Kapitel and Tillim. Thank you. Please stand up. Everybody please kindly rise.
Shir HaMalos LeDavid Samachti V'Imrim Li Beis Hashem Nailech Amadais Hayu Raglenu V'Yerushalayich Yerushalayim Yerushalayim Habinuya Ge'er Sheberchula Yachzov Shoshem Alu Shavatim Shivteya Aides L'Yisrael L'Haides L'Shem Adonai Ki Shama Yeshavu Kesiais L'Mishpat Kesiais Leves David Sha'alu Shalem Yerushalayim Yeshlahu L'Gayu Ohavayich Yehi Shalom Bechelek Shalov Bar Menaisayim Lama'an Ache Verea Adabara Na Shalom Bach Lama'an Beis Hashem Elohenu Avaksha Taiv Lach.
Thank you very much. Spanning 6 decades, 60 years, Hadar Torah has produced literally thousands of alumni who established beautiful families all over the world and have been a huge source for Nachas to the Rebbe and Chabad Lubavitch worldwide. Tonight, we are proud to honor 6 of these individuals who epitomize the values in the chinuch that they received while at Hadar Torah, who have successful careers in slichus and education, and have continually maintained and cherished their commitments to Hadar Torah. We're very proud of them. I'd like to call up Rabbi Shlomo Majeski, Dean of Machon Ladrus, to present the first award, the first decade. Okay, you gotta call him up.
Okay. So I'm honored to present this award to Rabbi David Shalom Pape. I want to say that anyone who discovers that Rabbi Pape is a former student of Hadar Torah, as much as they held Hadar Torah in high regard, when they discover that Rabbi Pape is a student of Hadar Torah's stock goes way up, whole new level. They raise the bar to a whole new level. Rabbi Pape was inspired by Hadar Torah, and he has become a source of inspiration to thousands of children with his children's magazine from Tzivus Hashem, to hundreds of people that eat by his Shabbos and Yontif table, and to hundreds of young women who study at Machon Liyadus, who eventually become the wives of many of the students of Hadar Torah. In fact, I think that many of the honorees tonight of Hadar Torah, their wives are from Machon Liyadus. I just want to say that there's a lot of things we can say about Rabbi Pape, but the key point which I feel is what it really expresses why he is so successful, inspiring people, is in the words of the Pirkei Avos this week, Kol mi sheruach habriyas noicha himeno, ruach hamokim noicha himeno. That people are pleased with him. We can find a lot of people that are talented, and he's talented. People that are Torah scholars, and he's a Torah scholar. People that are Yerushalayim, and he's Yerushalayim. But the unique point of Ruach Habriyas Noicha Himeno, that people are pleased with him, that's a sign that Hashem is pleased with him. I'd like to present this to Rabbi Pape. Yasher Koyach. We'll take care of the ashes later. We'll take care of the ashes later. Okay.
Take a picture, guys.
Rabbi.
Get her. That's right. That's good. You got. Who's next? Say a few words. Here we go. You got a speech? Okay, good. That's good.
My father, Olav Sholem, was known to the world as Benjamin Pape. Chaim Yitzchak Ber Halevi was a great speech maker. At our family simchas, he always began with the same words, unaccustomed as I am to speaking in public. the apple doesn't fall far, I guess. At least I've never been in such a position. First of all, I want to express my appreciation to Yaakov Silverstein, who worked very hard to put this whole event together. And to all the Anhala who hold him up and give him appreciation and direction and purpose in what he's doing. He should continue. All of them, the Hecht family, and Yaakov and all the other staff, to go from strength to strength, and the Yeshiva should grow and continue to be mispashet and have a great influence. Like Shimon said, or like it said in the video, we hear over and over again, the Hadar is an institution that is very, very dear to the Rebbe, and it's a privilege for all of us to be connected with it. A lot of things have changed in Hadar Torah since I first came here. Recently, the rooms have all been remodeled, renovated, the Zal has expanded. A lot of changes, but one thing didn't change. Rabbi Goldberg didn't change. He still is exactly. His character, his wit, his sharp, cutting-edge comments. I want just to share one of them with you. There was a famous remark from Rabbi Goldberg, a student, a young fellow was just making his way into his Yiddishkeit. Rabbi said, "Should I grow my beard?" "You don't have to," said Rabbi Goldberg. "It'll grow by itself." Yeah, there's a lot of memories. When I came here, the first time I came here was 1973 in Elul. And shortly after that, Shmuel Lu in England directed me to come here. And so I came to check it out as soon as I could. I'd been learning with the community in England, and I was very anxious to learn a lot more. And so I was introduced to junior moment.
Good. You're doing well.
Rabbi Yisrael Jacobson. Rabbi Yisrael Jacobson, just to share a very, very significant memory of Rabbi Jacobson. The Yom Kippur War broke out. It was a Hakhel year. Tovshin Lamed Daled had just begun. The Yom Kippur War broke out. Rabbi Jacobson invited myself and invited the Bachrim who were around. I happened to be one of them, to his sukkah on Montgomery Street before the new houses were built, where the natives used to throw rocks at people who walked by. They used to hide in the woods and throw rocks. It was a dangerous area. You couldn't walk down Albany without running a risk of getting mugged. It was the outskirts. And he took us to behind his house to a small, I would say, ramshackle sukkah, just big enough for about 5 people, 6 people. I think Aryeh Leib Foss was there. Is that right? Was he there that time? And he told us something that I've repeated maybe hundreds, maybe even more, thousands of times. And he explained to us what it means to be in a sukkah. He says, if you take a garment and you clean it and wash it, and then you dip it in a dye, D-Y-E. You dip it in a dye to acquire a wonderful color. This is what we're doing here. The sukkah is like the dye, and your neshama, which is clean from Yom Kippur, is being dipped in the mitzvah. It was a very profound word. I've shared it innumerable times, year after year. And really, it's symbolic of every mitzvah that we do. Because every mitzvah we do, we are in clothing ourselves in the will of Hashem, and we don't come out the same way that we went in. Rabbi Vashetsky was a great personality in the yeshiva in those days. Just to share a few memories, we'd sit in his class, and he would say to us, "My beloved children," and he really made us feel that that's what we were to him. I remember the time, unforgettable moments. One time, he unrolled his beard, unraveled his long beard, and started to kiss it and to bless it. "My beloved beard, I never cut you in my life." It's something. It's so. A lot of kids nowadays have problems. If they could see that only one time, they would never have the same feelings about touching their beard. About how he was so grateful, it was so holy, it was so special to him. He felt the yeshiva had to grow. One time he took me, he told me we have to do something. We have to reach out to bring students to the yeshiva. I don't know how he did this. He took me and another boy, maybe two others, I'm not sure, one or two, to Columbia University. How he got us in, I don't know, to the dorm, and took us to this boy's room and started trying to talk to him about Yiddishkeit. And the boy was, I don't know what was going through his head. So he opened up a pot that he had brought with him of pickles, and I offered him a pickle and a bun. And the boy ate it, and he started talking, and the boy started getting impatient, like making signs like he'd like us to leave. So Rabbi says, "Would you like another pickle?" These really great moments. Oh, yeah. And he told us one time, unforgettable story about how his father took him to the mikveh for the first time. I don't know how old he was. Young. He was very young. It was winter. There was snow. They had to trudge through the snow. "Tati, where are we going?" "We're going to the mikveh." And they trudged and trudged. And they came and they stopped. And he said, "Tati, where are we going?" He says, "We're going to the mikveh." He says, "Where is the mikveh?" He said, "The mikveh is right here." And he made a hole in the ice. He says, "Tata," he says, "take off your clothes." He took off his clothes, and he says, "We're going in there?" His father said, "In there." And he picked him up in his arms, and he went to the hole, and held him in his arms, and they jumped in. And Rabbi Vashetsky said, "I thought I was going to die." Then he picked him up. Then he dried him off, and he held him in his arms. And when he said that, the words were filled with love. Another thing that Rabbi Vashetsky taught us is crucial. Everybody here should know. I'll tell you, I was asked a few years ago. They asked me to come and speak in Hadar for bringing on Shabbos. And that morning I was wondering, what am I going to talk about? What should I talk about? I had no time to prepare anything. I thought, Hashgacha Pratis. Actually, they asked me, I'll talk about Hashgacha Pratis. Anyway, like Levi Klein, Shlich in Memphis says, Rabbi Klein, his son, Levi, Hashgacha Pratis is the Eibishter's way of being anonymous. So speak about the Hashgacha Pratis. So as I'm walking down the street, a young man walks over to me, and he says, "Oh, Rabbi," he never says hello, never speaks to me very much. He says, "I have to speak to you." I said, "What's about it?" He says, "I was cleaning the ductwork. I was cleaning the ducts, and you know what I found there? I found an old copy of Tzivah Hashem newsletter." "Oh," he says, I had to show it to you." He says, "I opened the newsletter to see what was in it. I was in it. There was a picture of me as a child doing some mitzvah." I said, "Okay, wonderful. You should keep on doing mitzvahs, and wonderful, and thank you for telling me." And I went away from that meeting, and I said, okay, now I have what to talk about. It's called Hashgacha Pratis. Rabbi Vashetsky taught us about Hashgacha Pratis, that every one of us is here be Hashgacha Pratis. There's no accidents involved. Every single one of us in this room is here because the Yeshiva wants us here, and the Rebbe wants us here, and that's why we're here, and some of our friends aren't here. Rabbi Vashetsky told us about how when the Rebbe Rashab established the Yeshiva, Tomchei Tamimim, he went to the Ohel of all his holy ancestors, the Rebbeim, and prayed for every neshama that would ever set foot in the hallowed halls of the Yeshiva he was going to establish. And that included, Rabbi Vashetsky told us, all the extensions of the Yeshiva of Tomchei Tamimim, including Hadar Hatorah, and all the ladies' yeshivas, Beis Rivka, B'nai Menachem, and all over the world, the yeshivas all over the world, for men and for women, for that we're all in the prayers of the Rebbe Rashab and in the prayers of the Rebbeim to the present day. So if anybody is here, we all know, we don't need to be reminded, it's because the Rebbe was thinking about us. And what we have to know is the Rebbe continues to think about us and to support us and to guide us and to protect us and to bless us. Or like we say in today's language, every single one of us is pre-approved. If there's a Farbrengen afterwards, we'll say more, but I think that's enough for now. And we should all be, it's a terrible death to be talked to death, so I don't want to give you all a chance to escape. Oh, this in the and in conclusion, there was once a community meeting about the drawing up the lines, the electoral lines in Crown Heights. They were redividing the community. They were cutting it up, and everybody would get up and speak, and then they would ring the bell, and you got to stop. So they ring the bell, and in conclusion, they would say another 5 minutes. So in conclusion, we should be zeicha to overcome all the obstacles within and without, and fulfill what the Rebbe expects of us, and to bring more people to the yeshiva and encourage the yeshiva and help the yeshiva, and bichlal or bifrat b'zayich to mekabel pnei Mashiach tzidkein LaRebbe Melech HaMashiach v'hu yigalenu. Amen.
Wonderful. Okay. Very nice. Okay. For the second generation, second decade, I'd like to call up Michal Brummel.
So, what do I need the mic? I understand. What am I? Okay. On a personal note, I am honored to be able to present this award to my beloved friend, lifetime friend, Yehuda Ferris. But before I do that, I'd like to say a mazel tov, 60 years Hadar Hatorah, the Hanhala of Hadar Hatorah, the ones that I had contact with, Rabbi Jacobson, Rabbi Goldberg, and Rabbi Hecht. You saved our lives. Thank you. So, you know, everybody here knows Yehuda Ferris as the head shliach in Berkeley, California, 40 plus years of tremendous success and a nachas. I get personal nachas and everybody, the nachas and that he's given to others. But I know him as my lifetime, as long as I've been in Hadar Hatorah. He's been my friend for 49 years. We started out in 1970. I started out in 1974. He might have been a year earlier. I'm not sure. of the timeline. But my recollections of Yehuda is that when we went down to the lunchroom, he was my chavrusa. We learned Gemara together, some Hasidus together, etc. But when he went down to the lunchroom, I don't remember him ever eating lunch. He would come down to the lunchroom, say a yom yom, announce it for everybody. He would just a Piskami Chabad, a Maisa Tzaddik, a Tzaddikim. He would just, that's what he would do. And then he'd go upstairs, we'd disappear, and then into the base medrash to learn again. This is one of my recollections. When we learned Bosi Lagani in the 5th chapter in the Frierdiker Rebbe's Mimer, there's the beginning of the Mimer, the beginning of that chapter discusses a Mimer Chazal from Gemara Kesubis, Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. Am I right, Rabbi Goldberg? I have to check. Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. I want to make you proud of me, Rabbi Goldberg. I do learn a little Gemara sometimes, And Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi dancing in front of the Kala. Kesuba, I was right, okay. And Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yitzchak dancing in front of the Kala with Hadassim. In the context, the Frierdiker Rebbe used that Chmaim Chazal. What the Frierdiker Rebbe is trying to convey, I think what I heard from my Rebbeim, that he was trying to change the energy from Shtus to Klippa to Shtus to Kedusha, because that's what it took. When I think of Yehuda Ferris, I think of a person who was mamtik dinim. He didn't even acknowledge negativity. There was nothing you could do to make anything negative. He would just change the energy of a room, and that's exactly who he is. That's who he is, who he was. I'm not only a friend of Yehuda Ferris, I'm a fan of Yehuda Ferris. And Yehuda and Miriam, we're rooting for you to finish the work in Berkeley and bring Mashiach Tzidkenu. Take it from Yad Mamish. So I'm honored to present this award to Yehuda Ferris, guest of honor in the 2nd decade. Yehuda. Photo. You remember this?
No. Smile. You're too kind. Okay, I thought I would read a letter from the Rebbe. You don't have to stand up, don't worry. Because a couple years back, I was canoeing in a upstate for Camp Gan Yisrael. I'm the bus driver. And my secretary called up and said, "You have a letter from the Rebbe, unopened." And I ripped it when I opened the letter. I said, "It's okay, put a piece of tape." But when I got back home, here's the letter to a Mr. Gedalia Hoffman, Alav Shalom, from 5743, that's 1983. It was never opened. It was found in a safety deposit box. You know how they work? There's 2 keys. The bank has one, you have the other one. He lost his key. They had to drill it open. He never opened the Rebbe's envelope. I wanted to read it to you because the lawyer from the estate said, "I know what a good friend of Paul Hoffman you were, Gedalia Hoffman, so I'm giving you the letters." 2 letters, actually. I'm only going to read one. Here it is. By the grace of God, 24th of Tammuz, 5743, Brooklyn, New York. Mr. Gedalia Hoffman. Greeting and blessing. Where is it? I just lost it. Hold on now. It's coming. Letter to Gedalia, downloading. There it is. Okay. This is in reply to your letter of Tammuz 18, the main point of which is to seek advice as to whether you should attend Hadar Hatorah. Is there a question in your mind? A young man he's asking the Rebbe, should I go to Hadar Hatorah? What's the Rebbe supposed to say? Of course. You're Jewish. You're a Baal Tshuva, you need to learn Teda. Of course, go to Hadar Teda. It's the best yeshiva in the whole world. The Rebbe didn't say that. Here's what the Rebbe said. Oh, I have a call coming in from potential spam. Okay, here it is. Actually, now it's identified spam. Okay, here's what the Rebbe told Paul Hoffman, Olav Shalom. The most logical thing for you to do in this matter is to communicate with the administration of Hadar Teda to find out what the situation is. Although it is vacation time, I believe they have summer courses. But in your case, you have to make sure that you can fit in a suitable program and also have chavrusa. The fact that you were in touch with Hadar Torah a year ago and thought that you encountered an unfriendly attitude, parentheses, which was surely a misunderstanding, since that is not their policy, nor in keeping with the Torah, whose ways are pleasantness and peace. The fact that you were in touch with the Hadar Torah a year ago and you thought that you encountered an unfriendly attitude should have no bearing on the present situation, and the Rebbe underlined the word present in pencil. Everything's typewritten. The Rebbe took a pencil and put an underline under the word present. You may, and here's a line I never saw before or after. Maybe you have a little more experience. You may, if you think it useful, include a copy of this letter with your letter to Hadar Teda. To conclude on the timely topic of the 3 weeks, commemorating the Churban and exile, it is well to remember that the sole cause of it is, as we say in our Musaf prayer, because of our sins we have been exiled from our land. Therefore, every one of us must work all the harder to counteract and remove the cause by means of all-out efforts to strengthen and spread Yiddishkeit, Torah, and mitzvahs, thereby eliminating the effect and hastening the Geula through Mashiach Tzidkenu, with blessing the Rebbe's signature. I just wanted to point out, I mean, it's so obvious, that the Rebbe never tells anyone to do anything. You ask the Rebbe, what should I do? He says, I don't know, what do you want to do? Are you driving this ship or what? Am I your boss? Am I living your life? It's like there were two ladies in Boca Raton driving to the mall, Rose and Lily. Rose was driving and she goes through a stop sign, 25 miles an hour. Lily is polite. She doesn't say anything. She's not from New York. Then Rose goes through a stop sign at 40 miles an hour. Now Lily's getting concerned. Finally, Rose goes sideways across a 6-lane freeway at 80 miles an hour. And Lily says, Rose, you went through a stop sign, a stoplight, and now you're going across a freeway. And Rose looks flabbergasted, and she says, I'm driving? The Rebbe was telling Paul Hoffman, first of all, he said, your name is not Paul, it's Gedalia. Second of all, why are you asking me? Be logical, ask the Hanhola. Third of all, find out if they have a program. Rabbi Goldberg told me that the Rebbe forced them to have a program in the summer. Am I putting words in your mouth? Maybe. So the Rebbe knew very well that there was a program and it was suitable and he could get a chavrusa. Rabbi Goldberg would be his chavrusa. And nobody ever wrote to a person and say, use my letter as entrée. You could have carte blanche. This letter could have, if he would have opened it, this letter could have gotten him into any Chabad Moised in the world. So what is he teaching us with this letter? Why did I get this letter? First of all, you heard the dates that the Rebbe received the letter and when he returned the letter. answered it. 6 days. To a person he knew with Ruach HaKodesh wouldn't even open the envelope. But we would be talking about it in the Shnas Hashishim, here at the dinner. What does it teach us? That there's only 2 types of people in this world that are hypersensitive, males and females. That everybody is driving their own life. And the Rebbe put the onus, put the responsibility back into the court of the writer of the letter and say, you're driving. Thank you.
Lower this here. Okay, moving along. I'd like to call up Avram Kamen to present the 3rd decade.
Well, I won't belabor my introduction, so I'll give ample time to the honoree, the loquacious, the handsome, David Wall. But I will say just a few words, and I will be brief. Brevity being the soul of wit. Who said that? It wasn't Rabbi Goldberg. But in any case, I didn't even know David Wall until the 1990s, the early 1990s. I was a student here in the Lameds in the same time as the apparently first generation, or near the end of the first generation, when Rabbi Pape was here and Rabbi Jacobson, Oliver Sholem was here, and Rabbi Goldberg has been through it all with us. I can't remember a day from the time that I first came here. Do you remember, if you remember the day when I walked up the stairs? Do you remember that? Maybe you don't. I was from the folks from the 60s who had long hair, and he took a look at me and he just couldn't believe it. I had a butterfly on my back, on a leather back, but that gradually, well, actually very quickly disappeared as I made a full commitment, not understanding any of what I had gotten myself into, to try this on for a year, and if it fit, it would stay, and if it didn't, it wouldn't, and it did. And I'm very grateful for that, and for the fact that so many in this people in this room are people with whom I grew up, who grew up with me, even though I'm a lot older than Rabbi Ferris. Rabbi Ferris, how old were you when you and I were in Yeshiva together? 18? Something like that. And I was a decade at least older than you. But in any case, back to our story. David Wall. So in the 90s, I think it was in the 90s. David, you can straighten me out if I'm wrong. David Wall was not a presence in my life until I have a very deep and long-term chavarusa in this room, Dr. Eli Rosen, and he and I had been learning together in chavarusa for quite a while. And chavarusa took place in those years anyway, at 770. In those years, as someone alluded to already, 770 was a huge hot spot for anybody looking for Jewish spiritual enlightenment was there. And when we had our Chamarusa, we had it, I think it was on the Diaz, wasn't it? On the Diaz? And toward the left of where, if the Rebbe is here, on the left of the Rebbe. And we were learning together, and gradually, people who were of English speaking and not Hebrew speaking came to hear that there was Hasidus being learned in English, and they started to come around. And the way David tells the story, that one time we were short of Sforim, Likutei Torahs were not there, and he said, why don't you come over to Hadar Torah, where there are also a lot of English-speaking people, and there are Sforim. So we came, and it remained. David Wall is basically the founder of the weekly Hasidic Shir that has been going on now up to almost 30 years, I think. And that was the first experience I had of David Wall. Another, which remains and still continues, is, well, two others. One, he became a good friend. And in that process, and particularly in his role as the, I think, department head of mathematics, I think that's what it says in the program, became a very trusted advisor to one of my daughters-in-law, who was on her way in the field of mathematics, and to other people in our family in general about college and about pursuing particular fields. We called upon him when our son Chaim was interested in going to Torah College, and when Rochi, that's my daughter-in-law, was in Columbia, and gradually a real friendship developed. And the last thing I just want to say about David, besides all of those things, the Hashgacha Pratis, which brought the Shir that we still do every Shabbos at Hadar Torah into existence in Hadar Torah, and the influence he had on my life, I think the main thing that I want to bring to everybody's attention is that on Shabbos morning, every Shabbos, there's an amazing amount of delicious food being brought out. So if you're not coming for the learning, come from the food. And that's David Wall. David Wall, I think it's the Shamash of Hadar Torah, the one whose life is totally given over to seeing that things are right and that things are delicious. So without no further ado, let me bring him up here.
Thanks very much, Avi. Thank you, everybody. Rabbi Goldberg, Rabbi Wurzburg, Rabbi Ozdaba, Rabbi Gazinski, and who could forget Yaakov Silberstein, who's always there, who's never missed a minute of being with Hadar Torah. I started doing avodas, doing things for the yeshiva. One of the first things that I remember doing was we started making a shalashudas, and we needed someone to give a shir. That was Rabbi Eliezer Gold. And he was giving a shir for a couple weeks. Occasionally, the Rebbe would cancel the shalashudas in a matter of speaking because we schedule it to be right after the Rebbe's Verbringen, after Mincha. And sometimes he would verbring between Mincha all the way straight through to Morav, so we had to push off the shalashudas and make it a Malav Malka. Somewhere along the way, Rabbi Goldberg took over, but we had to make a deal with Rabbi Goldberg. As long as I would bring some fish, special fish, then Rabbi Goldberg agreed to start doing shiurim and the shalashudas. So that's called FFRG. So I go to Mermelstein's and I just say, give me some FFRG, and they know they know what I mean. I started doing other things for the yeshiva. At one point, one of the daveners, Baruch Klein, didn't like that his name was spelled wrong. He said it's Baruch mit the O, not mit the A. So we had to spell Baruch Klein's name right, so I spelled it with an O, and I started doing the names for the seats for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So that grew into other things. So brisses, kiddushes, shalom zachers. Shalom zachers, I would do a shalom zacher, then a couple of years later we would do the bar mitzvah for the kid. One of the kids who we did a shalom zacher for a couple of years ago, he's getting married in Mitzvah Shem next week, I think, is it, Chona? 2 weeks. So we did the shalom zacher for him when he was born, and now he's getting married in 2 weeks. a little bit about Rabbi Goldberg. Rabbi Goldberg is interested in my career as a mathematician. He knows Rabbi Groner was always encouraging me to do research. He wants me to get my PhD. Rabbi Goldberg knew this mathematician named David Kajdan, a Ruski, and now he lives in Israel. He had an accident, but he was hit by a car when he was on his bicycle, but he needs a refuah shlema. He's getting better. And David Kajdan said to Rabbi Goldberg that David, only talks to the best people in the world, the only best mathematicians. These are the people who he quotes, and these are the people he discusses things with. Well, so that trend that I only associate with the best people in the world, that trend continues with Yeshiva, with Hadar Torah. So thanks very much, and Hatzlacha, Rabbi. And also, refuah shlema to my stepson, Shalom Ber. He had his wisdom tooth taken out on Thursday. He needs a refuah shlema. Yashikol.
Okay, moving along. I'd like to call up Daniel Miles, who's a Bochum of the Hatorah present, to present the fourth decade.
All right. First, I just want to give another round of applause to Yaakov Silverstein and everybody who helped put this beautiful dinner together. Thank you so much. Everybody who helped, thank you. All right, so I'm really proud to present this to Rabbi Ort from Denver, Colorado, over here. He's a rabbi, a shliach, father of 6. You could probably read it on the thing that you have there. But yeah, so Rabbi, you changed my life. I can't believe I'm standing here and that we're here together and everything. I went to the University of Colorado in Denver, and it's kind of more like a commuter school. So it was, admittedly, it was kind of hard to make friends and stuff because it wasn't like a big school with fraternities and stuff. And I didn't even know that the Chabad on campus was there at first until I found you guys tabling on campus one day. And there's so many days when a person can say, oh, like I'm gonna go do tabling or I'm gonna do mitzvahim, and then change their mind. But you really got to push yourself in those moments because you never know who you're gonna meet. And every single minute that you're out there matters because you never know what moment you could pass up. And I went over to your house for Shabbos, started doing that, and it inspired me so much. The way that you show love to your kids and to your wife and to every single student that goes by, it was something I'd never experienced before. I was kind of confused. I was like, how is this person that like just met me so nice to me? I've never met anybody like this ever. I said, I really, really appreciate being at your house because it feels like home because, I don't really have family out here. It's in college. I grew up in LA, so I went to college in Denver. I said, I don't really have family out here. And you said, yes, you do. Yes, you do. And that really meant a lot to me. I think that your big strength has to be Ahavas Yisrael. It was kind of the theme of your Farbrengen at Hadar Torah last Thursday, but just what I could notice from all the time that I've had the opportunity to spend with you, the way that you are just so patient and encouraging with kindness. You never like push me to do anything in like an uncomfortable way. You never said, oh, you should do this, you should daven like this. It was all like just focusing on the fact that I wanted to come to shul, that I wanted to come to Shabbos, and you made me feel included. I didn't feel uncomfortable at the synagogue being like the least religious person there. It was so special. I said the way you should love your kids. I forgot to say also the dad jokes, dad jokes for sure. Some notable moments of being with Rabbi Ort was when you came to my apartment and we put up my mezuzah in the apartment for the first time. That was really, really awesome. And the way, so I met you, and then we didn't talk for like a couple years, unfortunately. We just kind of lost connection, and then there was the pandemic and everything. But then one night I heard there was a Hanukkah party on campus that Randy, another student, invited me to. And I didn't even put it together that it would be you guys there for whatever reason, but then it was, and you were like, "Oh, Daniel," and you grabbed my hand and you like yanked me in and gave me a hug, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's Rabbi Yort." And for whatever reason, that Hanukkah party, ever since that party, it was just this like steady upward climb of kedusha and inspiration for me. I don't know what exactly happened. But since then, you know, I started coming to your house more and more, and I remember I saw a framed drawing of the Beis HaMikdash on your wall, and I said, "Whoa, what's that?" I didn't even know what that was. And I remember when I got my tefillin for the first time with you, and you called me while I was at work, and you said, "I heard, you know, I found this donor that called me and asked me if I know any students that would be interested in tefillin," and I thought of you, and I said, "Well, I don't know, Rabbi. I never thought about having tefillin before. So if you have another student that has expressed interest, I think it should go to them." And you said, "No, like you're the first person I thought of. I really think this should go to you." And I don't think I told you this, but when you gave me the tefillin after I left, I cried a little bit because it felt like I was, you know, returning to like a heritage that I was entitled to as a Jew, and it was just the most special thing. I remember the first time I remember the first time I tried to put it on for work. I made sure to get up half an hour early, and it ended up taking me like maybe longer than that to put it on and put it away and play this YouTube video over and over. But anyway, yeah. I just lost what I was gonna say. 1 second. Anyway, I remember, you know, we were building a sukkah on campus right before Shkia, and everybody was freaking out, and you went to Home Depot, and we were buying plywood and drilling holes and everything, and yeah, that was really fun too. I just deleted the note I was using by accident, but it's okay. So anyway, I think that your home is like, it's like a beacon of light. I was in so much darkness in college, and you know, I was in this relationship that was really hard to get out of, and you helped me with that, and it really meant a lot. And so yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. I can't believe how much you go out of your way just for a single Jew and for students, like booking hotel rooms on campus just to stay for Shabbos for one night, and even for Yom Tov. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. You, I remember we went to campus, and you were hosting Rosh Hashanah, Yom Tov on campus, and you had me drive the Sefer Torah from your house in my car, and I said, "Wow, Rabbi, I can't believe you're trusting me with the Sefer Torah." And you said, "Yeah, well, I know where you live." So, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, please never stop what you're doing, you and your wife, Rebbetzin Ort. And I know somebody already used these words already, but I have to use them again for myself. Rabbi, you saved my life. Thank you.
Oh, Tercha L'Tzibor. I'm sorry. I just want to first thing I want to say is this is the first time the Hadar Torah actually got me to wear a tie. So, yeah, this is Hadar Torah makes the Kates. This is like unbelievable. So there was, you know, give Rabbi a mic.
there were some other things that I also put in my video that didn't make the you have to get the extended version, I guess, to see the rest of the stuff. But I'm gonna tell you now. Obviously, a lot has been said about the amazing faculty here, and it is not an understatement to say that they also changed my life. But there's another aspect that I want to cover, and that is about the students, right? Fellow students, you got a little glimpse into that. But I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about one of my fellow students. He's probably watching. Hopefully, he won't sue me for saying this. Binyamin. His name is Binyamin. And for those who know who it is from my decade, you'll know. So Binyamin was one time late at night. Everyone had gone to sleep. We were trying to be good about keeping Seder, right? I said that because Rabbi Goldberg mad at me. And so we were everyone asleep. I had a little trouble with that. And I noticed that I was the only one who was up. Also, Binyamin was up. He was in the hallway, and I said, "Hey, what's going on, Binyamin?" He said, "I'm having trouble saying, the Hamapil, the Kriya Shema before you go to sleep." And I said, "Well, you can say it in English. Hashem knows English. It's not a problem." And he said, no, I know the Hebrew. I said, so what's the issue? He said, well, first thing it says is, I hereby forgive anyone who has upset me today. Anyone who I didn't get along with. And the first thing we do before we go to sleep is, Mamash is like, 1/60th of our soul is going up to Shemayim. It's a very heavy time. I don't want anyone losing sleep, but so we say that, and I said, okay, yeah, I'm familiar with the prayer. He said, well, someone upset me today. And I said, yeah, and he said, I don't know if I can really say this with an MS. Wow. Okay. I said, well, immediately, as soon as he said that, I said, if you are so concerned about saying that with an MS, you're probably good. I think you can do this. You're going to be okay, right? But the thing is, when he said that to me, it was a lesson for me. As much as we get a lesson from the faculty, I always tell people, the difference, you go to a Chabad yeshiva, and especially a yeshiva Hadar Torah, is in other yeshivas, hopefully you get you get the theoretical. As a matter of fact, there's an interesting, the Alter Rebbe says, Misha Omer, one who says, Ein li el Torah, I only have Torah, afilo Torah ein lo. Doesn't even have Torah. It seems like a really awesome statement. Why would that mean that? Because for him, it's an intellectual exercise. It's abstract. It's not internalized. And when we go out of Mitzrayim, we go and we show love to a fellow Jew, we internalize it. It becomes real. And you can talk about the Pinta Yid, you can talk about all these things all you want, but on Friday you see it. When you go on Mitzrayim, you see it. And of course, we all have amazing stories. We go on Mitzrayim and the effect that we have on other people. But that's really when, as a Bachar, I learned, I really internalized and got to see what I was reading by seeing the way that people would literally put on tefillin, like you stop what they're doing. This total stranger comes up to them and says, hey, I would like to wrap, do you mind rolling up your sleeve so I can wrap these leather straps around you? I know you don't know me at all, but, and they do it. They do it because that's the Pinta Yid. Then we actually see the Pinta Yid. I wanted to get across that as much as, and the other thing also, so I would give a little knock since Daniel talked about me. I gotta also mention Daniel. So recently, I guess, whatever, and this is, I don't even know why, when people come to my house and they try to sell me security systems, I tell them, I said, I already have one. They say, you have one? What's it called? I said, it's called mezuzah. They say, okay, who makes this? Why is it so much better? I said, well, very simple. Your security system calls the authorities after a crime, and mine actually prevents the crime in the first place. So it's way better than your security system. And they usually, that kind of ends that. They can't really compete. So I saw, I do have like one of those Ring doorbells or whatever, and I saw some crazy guy come to the door, and he was like taking pictures of the house, and I was like kind of nervous or whatever. And I mentioned this to Daniel, and Daniel pulled a Rabbi Wurzburg on me. He did, and he did it. He executed it perfectly. What did he do? He said, "You have mezuzahs, don't you?" And I was like, yeah, you got me. You got me. So no, and you can't, as a shliach, you can't get more nachas than your student pulling a Rabbi Wurzburg on you. It was absolutely amazing. So I want to thank Daniel for that. And I also want to thank all the other students. We have Shmuel Crow, we have D. Spector's listed in the thing. I won't go through the whole list there, but I'm really hoping to send more, and we definitely have an achrayas to keep doing that, and I will do that. But I just want to really thank the faculty. I want to thank Yaakov Silberstein for putting this all together, and who's works tirelessly. Oh, that's what I wanted to also mention, because I was really not prepared for this, as you can tell. Okay, so there was another yeshiva. It was actually Chabad Yeshiva, Baruch Hashem. So, Rabbi Dubov said, I came to Rabbi Dubov, I said, I want to not only learn, but I want to learn how to learn, like in the original, the real deal, right? And he said, okay, so let's get you to yeshiva. He called up a different yeshiva, I will mention, with the yeshiva. Literally their response, which I kind of think is kind of funny, they're like, I don't know if you're serious about this. I'm not kidding. They said, I don't know if you're serious, really committed. So apparently I am. Spoiler alert. And so I called up. So Rabbi Dubov was like, okay, all right, it's not working out. Let's call Hadar Torah, right? And called up Hadar Torah, Yaakov Silberstein. I said, I'd like to, save up a little bit more money, pay my way through and everything. And actually, maybe I shouldn't say this because it's not a really good fundraising type of approach. But he said to me, he's like, come now. Don't worry, we'll figure it out. Just come right away. And I felt welcomed. That's the right attitude, and that was the clincher. And when I more than college, I didn't feel as comfortable and as welcome as I felt as soon as I stepped into Hadar Torah. I felt comfortable. I still keep up with many of the people. Svi Lipchik was there. We had Shais Taub, Binyamin. We had a lot of Simcha Levenberg, Dov Yonah Korn, right, who's doing amazing things at NYU. Baruch Hashem, you have wonderful, wonderful chaverim who I keep up with, and I just see how everyone's close. It's like a family, and it should keep up that way. And we got to extend the family because there's a lot more room for a lot more people to be a part of that. And I just want to thank all of you for having me here and listening. Thank you.
Okay, this time I'd like to call Rabbi Svi Lipchik to present the fifth decade.
Okay. I should say that? Okay. Okay. My job is to present the guest of honor from the fifth decade, Matisyahu Devlin, who was trying to fly in today, but his flight got canceled, so he's going to join us virtually very soon. Personally, I was part of the fourth decade with Rabbi Ort, and I just want to share some good news that I don't think he knows, but everybody who knows him will be very happy to hear, that somebody from our generation is going on shlichus. Yosef Mendel Capular is going on shlichus to Coral Springs, Florida. Yeah. So Hadar Hatorah is all about never too late. So what's so strange if somebody in their 50s going on shlichus? Okay, Matisyahu. So Matisyahu Devlin, Baruch Hashem, wow, he saw my kids grow up. So I think he'd appreciate this story. This is a story that I heard from my son Binyamin. He said over the Shabbos. This story takes place in the 90s. So for the guys who are in the Tanya Shir now, so this is from before you were born. But in the 90s, Russia started opening up after many years. And Chabad sent, before they sent so many shluchim there, they at least sent Bachrim there in the early 90s. And this story takes place then. And there were Bachrim who came to the different places, different cities, and the different communities, and visited the people who had served Hashem with Mesiras Nefesh for many, many, many years under the communists. And in one of these, groups of Bachrim who went to Russia, so, we learned in the Tanya Shir that not everybody, everybody still has Nefesh HaBahamis. And, it's a tough test for a Bachar, I guess, to go out of Yeshiva on vacation, to Russia. And, so some of these two guys weren't behaving so well. And they were there more for the, for the trip to Russia, the time off. And one time, they were kind of, they were playing around, visiting the sites. They came back to the shul, and they were making a verbrenging. But there was a guy. It was kind of joking around, and they were joking at the expense of one of the Alter Hasidim, and particularly his glasses. And they were saying, "What kind of glasses are like?" I guess that epitomized like Russia, like he had terrible, terrible glasses, probably held together by what Herschel used to hold his glasses together with when I saw him a year or two. And they were teasing him. And the verbrenging went late. And then the next morning, the chassid comes to shul, for the minyan, 7 o'clock. And instead of wearing old Soviet glasses, he has new fashionable glasses. And people were like, "What? You're 90 years old." And besides that, you were just with us at the verbrenging. That was after midnight. Now it's 7 o'clock. Glasses stores aren't open. How did you do this? And why did you do this? And he said, what do you mean? The Rebbe's Shluchim said that I need new glasses. And of course, when the shluchim heard this, so they're like, wow, wow, that's who we are. That's what we're supposed to be, and it affected them. But I was thinking about this story, and I was thinking about Matisyahu Devlin. So this Yid, obviously, his emunah and his Mesiras Nefesh for all the years is amazing. The one in the story. But this story was in the 90s. The Frierdiker Rebbe left Russia in 1927. Maybe he had seen the Rebbe 60 years ago, or at least his parents told him many stories. But then we have Matisyahu Devlin, who his parents didn't tell stories about the Rebbe, and in fact, before he came to Hadar Torah, I think the story is well known. His story is well known because it was National Geographic made a video about him. He grew up with a Christian father, and not knowing he was Jewish, and it was a strict house, and he ran away. He ran away from home, and he ended up in the city in Manhattan, and met a couple on a date who told him they were a Lubavitch couple, and told him, "Yeah, go to 770." And he went to 770. I think he saw Dov Zeichner in 770, who told him, "Go to Hadar Torah." And he ended up in Hadar Torah. And here's somebody who was running away from home and running away from authority. And like Binyamin Abrams verbringed last night, that in order to be successful in Hadar Torah, you have to have Kabbalah Soul. That's what you need. So Matisyahu worked so hard. Imagine, he had every reason really to hate authority and to hate, the religion. And he was smart enough, and he is smart enough, to work hard and to develop and redevelop this strong Kabbalah Soul. And he achieved very well in Hadar Torah. And he went on to Olei Torah and to many other great endeavors, and to Shlichus in California. Before Shlichus in California, a summer in Gan Yisrael of Crown Heights as a very successful counselor. Oh, thanks. Oh. And then a full year working in Hadar Torah, recruiting successfully, and God willing, those who take after him should be as successful and more successful. And then on to California, and now as an amazing Malamed in Florida, and just according to statistics, probably like 20 guys from this room, they're going to eventually move to Miami. So just for sure, get your son. Your son should be in Rabbi Devlin's class, that's for sure, and his camp. And so, but where did this Yid saw the Rebbe, grew up with stories of the Rebbe. How did Matisyahu do it? And really, it's a question: how does everybody in the Hadar Torah do it? How does everybody do it? My own kids say, why would you want to, if you didn't grow up with it, why would you want to restrict yourself? And it's a good question. It's a fair question. But it's the neshama. This is who we are. We don't just, we were the fortunate ones to have had it activated. And soon everybody will be. So Matisyahu, who, wow, he's the real powerhouse, the real deal, real chassid. And it's my honor to present him with this honor. We're very proud of you here at Hadar Torah. Continue to make us proud.
Thank you so much, Tzvi. Really appreciate all the kind words. So I want to just elaborate on one detail that Tzvi mentioned. About 10 hours before I walked through the doors of Hatorah for the first time, I was in a Starbucks in Manhattan. And although the detail is right that it was a Lubavitcher couple, it was not necessarily a shidduch date. It wasn't necessarily a couple that was the age where for me Yidden would be together on a date. It was a young boy that was at a certain crossroads in his life, like I was, and this boy he's the son of a Hatorah alumnus, and even whatever his circumstances in life were at the time, when I was sitting there and I was, not up to any good really, he told me, he said, your mother's Jewish, you're a Jew. We were in the middle of a conversation and it came up, and he said, go to 770. And as Tzvi said, the rest was history. I was taken to Hatorah. I was actually also a Hatorah alumnus that saw someone put on tefillin with me and suggested that he should take me down the street to Hatorah. And I was a bit apprehensive when I first walked up to the building. The huge letters out front that say seminary. So to me, growing up as a Catholic, seminary is a priest goes and don't get married, and it was a little scary to see that sign. But I woke up the stairs and I'm greeted by Rabbi Goldberg, and everyone, I'm sure from Hatorah, remembers their first experiences with Rabbi Goldberg. And for me, it was coming from a whole different world, from a small town in Pennsylvania where I didn't know Jews, let alone religious Yiddishkeit, Frumkeit, anything like that. And Rabbi Goldberg tells one of the Bachrim to take me to the lunchroom to have breakfast. And I basically became a part of the furniture. And thankfully, it all worked out. I found a place in the dorm. And then a few days later, someone, Yaakov Silberstein, wanted to speak to me in the office and asked me why I'm in the dorm and wanted to speak with my parents. And my life was really a mess at that time. There was really a lot of really difficult things I was going through, issues I was dealing with. I wasn't just like running away from home. I really was suffering through a lot of different issues. And in those first few months that I originally came to Hatorah when I was 18 years old, and this was in 2009, in the beginning of 2009, Rabbi Goldberg right away became like a father figure to me at a time in my life when my own father I was estranged from and was not very close with. And even when I re-engaged a relationship with my father, it was not easy for him to handle that I was becoming frum, that I was in yeshiva. And Rabbi Goldberg really, really took me under his wing in a way that I really felt was a fatherly relationship. Yaakov Silberstein did manage to start getting in touch with my mother, and really helped to, aside from accommodating me to be able to come to yeshiva, to really help me reinitiate a relationship with my mother, which led to with my siblings and my father and so on. I was really influenced by one of the shluchim I have to mention. The yeshiva at the time was Baruch Leeds from Pittsburgh, and Baruch was really, really essential in those initial months that I was in yeshiva to really rewire a lot of my thinking about the Eibishter, about Torah, about religion, and anything like that. Rabbi Wurzburg, I would have to say one of the most influential things that Rabbi Wurzburg really did for me was it actually led to me leaving yeshiva and not being frum for a period of time. But the yeshiva was gearing up to go to Shalah. And I was in yeshiva about 5 months or so. At that point, I was, you first become frum. I grew a beard. I wore black and white. I just jumped into everything, head first. And Rabbi Wurzburg said, I know that you've, made up with your family. I think you should go home and visit your family. It would be nice to go see your family before we go away to camp. And I wouldn't even have thought to go see them. I went to visit my family, and that ended up not at the time seeming to be a great idea. I decided to come back to yeshiva, get my things, and move back home and not be frum anymore. I went back to living a pretty wild, crazy lifestyle, involved in a lot of things, the wrong crowd, that kind of thing. And Tzvi Lipchik sent me a message that he was, something along the lines of he was sorry to, that I had to go, but he wanted me to know there's always a place for me in Hatorah. Anytime I want to come back, there's always a place. After the summer, I started to go to a Chabad house and become frum again. And a little while later, I really felt like I wanted to come spend Shabbos in Hatorah. And I called up Tzvi, who was in charge of arranging these things at the time. And I said, Tzvi, you told me a while back there's always a place for me in Hatorah. And I'm hoping the offer still stands. I would like to come to Shabbos to the Yeshiva. I remember coming back to Crown Heights the first time in a while. And the feeling of going to Hatorah, just walking through the doors, was something even more powerful than when I first went to go visit home after an estrangement, after, probably 8 months away from my family for the first time in my life, when I became frum and then went to go visit. Coming back to Hatorah after a similar period of time, that was something that truly felt like coming back home. And that put in my mind, I think I want to come back to Yeshiva. And I spoke it over with Tzvi, and I think I called up Yaakov Silberstein. And within a week or two, I was back in Yeshiva, where I ended up learning 2 years in Hatorah. And all during that time, there was so many life-changing moments. It wasn't any one particular time or time period. Hatorah, you spend an amount of time there. There's a lot of phases. Every few months, there's kind of a new crew of Bachrim and maybe someone else helping out learning or teaching, and it kind of changes up. But there was just a huge effect that all of these people I mentioned had on my life. Rabbi Tzap, I have to really mention, who was teaching at Hatorah at that time, a Likutei Sichos shir. And aside from getting me into my love of Yiddish and Likutei Sichos, there was a lot of kind of fine-tuning after I started becoming more molded into a good person, a good chassid. There was some fine-tuning that Rabbi Tzap really helped me out with. And just really the whole time there, just always making sure I was taken care of, always, made sure I had what I needed. Whether it was Yaakov giving me a job in the yeshiva, everyone always knows there's always the person who puts the mezainis out in the morning, and the person who heats the dinner up, at night, and the person who arranges the farbrengens. I did everything but the librarian. I took a stab at all the different jobs and was given a little money in my pocket for it. And I think one of my really big memories, I would have to say, from Hatorah, again, it's a general overview, it's not a specific thing, is just the time with the Bachrim, the camaraderie. I know some of my predecessors already spoke about it, just the camaraderie that you have. And for me, I had it when I was 18, when I was 19, when I was 20, at a time when my friends I grew up with were in college, were in university, were partying, however they were living their life. I got to go through those formative years in Hatorah. And as much as it was also the meaningful side of it, and growing as frum Yidden, learning Torah, learning Chassidus, learning Gemara, and all that amazing stuff, there was also the shenanigans. There was, we did plenty of, not drinking at verbrengens. There was plenty of things going on in the dorm rooms and going to people's basement apartments, and just everyone knows what I'm talking about. There's always fun to be had, and there's a certain amount of life that has to be lived when you're a young age. And, looking back and seeing that, whether things I was doing were right or wrong, I was doing them with Bachrim, with friends of mine that we were going through a life-changing process. And we got to really mold together, and we got to yield together, come together. We got to build a whole new life for ourselves together at the same time. There's Camp Shalah. There's just so much, there's so much that happened. I have to start going into one memory, it's going to lead to another one, and I won't be able to finish this talk. I'm not one that's known to finish talking very quickly. I think one of the biggest things that really I look back and I see how much of Hatorah was still a part of my life even after I left. I finished about 2 years in Hatorah. It was the end of a school year, and Rabbi Goldberg and Rabbi Ozdaba both spoke to me about maybe going to Olei Torah that following school year. And I thought that's like a wild, like what do you mean? I'm about Tshuva, I'm here in Hatorah. I love it. It's my place. I'm learning a lot. And I didn't think of, to go to a place like Oli Terra. When you first become frum and you're in Crown Heights, you look at like Oli Terra as this like great tzaddikim and Hasidic boys, and like that's like, you hope one day you'll send your kids there. But they pushed me to go there. They set up an interview for me over there, and Baruch Hashem, I went and learned in Oli Terra and some other yeshivas as well. And even after I left the Hatorah, there was always a connection, and many of them were things that really, really changed my life. I met my wife, who we now have 4 children together. We live here in Florida. We've built a family and a place and a career down here. And my wife was introduced to me by Tzvi Lipchik and his wife. They set us up they actually invited us to the same Shabbos meal, and I guess the rest was history. When we got engaged, I had no money. I was learning in 770. I was barely affording my rent for Hatorah, to dorm there at the time. And Rabbi Goldberg very generously, paid for the l'chaim. Soon after we got married, it was the summer. Tzvi, offered me to be a Rebbe or a learning teacher in his camp, his summer camp. And it really jumped me into this passion for chinuch. And he also got me my first job, teaching there on Eastern Parkway at Hatorah, teaching English and math, science, whatever we were teaching there. And as Tzvi mentioned, soon after, my wife and I moved to California, where we were shluchim. Had the great schus to do that on campus, and we relocated for various reasons to South Florida, where I remembered this passion that Tzvi really laid the roots for me to get involved in chinuch. And I started teaching at one of the cheders here in LAC, Landau. Some people might know it as here in Florida. And at this point, I taught so many different grades, and now teach at a different school here in Florida as well. And just all of it, to be honest, really I really owe my whole career back to, I have to say, to Tzvi Lipchik. So there's always been that kind of influence there. Even in the video, you can see it. You could see the full screen. Some of my lifers even are from the Purim raffle, the annual raffle. So even every Shabbos, when my wife and my daughter's lighting candles, I have a little bit of a Hatorah in my home. And of course, whenever I come to Crown Heights, I try once a year, twice a year, whenever I'm there. Of course, as we all do, the ones of us who don't live in Crown Heights, we make an effort to come and see a Hatorah, see the changes, see what's new, check in with Yaakov Silverstein, try to catch Rabbi Goldberg, if I can, at least in the street, and have a conversation. And get to, try to show off my son. I'd like, I always make a point if I'm with my children that, my son should speak a little to Rabbi Goldberg. And actually the last time we were in Crown Heights, my son was telling Rabbi Goldberg how he was learning brachos, mishnayos, and he said over a Mishnah Baal Peh, and Rabbi Goldberg asked him, to explain something, and Rabbi Goldberg gave a nice chiddush. My son was so excited about it. And this is really Hatorah. It's just something that, changed, for me at least, it changed me, it molded me. It's, I still see in my day-to-day life, even as many years have gone by since I was a bacher there, I still see how much of my life I owe to that yeshiva. I owe to Rabbi Goldberg, I owe to Rabbi Wurzberg, Yaakov Silverstein, Rabbi Tzap, all my friends, the many bachrim who were there throughout the 2 years I was there, the bachrim that came for yeshivacations that I remember, kept in touch with, the bachrim that came for Camp Shalah. Was really, really, those were the 2 years of my life that made me into who I am today. So I want to thank everyone. Thank you, Tzvi, for presenting it. And thank you, Yaakov Silverstein, for all you've done in the past and all you will do in the future. And to the rest of the Anhala, all those who teach there now, I always get to see. And thank you very much.
Okay. For the 6th decade, I'd like to call up Hillel Rosenzweig.
First, I'd like to give a big shout out and thank you to all the Anhala of Hatorah for making all of us to be here and for making this night a beautiful reality. Thank you. I have the great honor and privilege of presenting this award to a very, very dear friend of mine. And we first learned together in Eretz Yisrael, and then we had the privilege of coming here to Hatorah to spend more years learning first as Bachrim, and then in Kol together, and a big, big inspiration in my life. So I'd like to give this award to Ruben Mizrahi.
Thank you very much. I genuinely do not feel in the slightest worthy of this award. There's so many good guys, incredible people that I know that far better than me that deserve this award. But nonetheless, this is what it is. So I just want to mention a few things. First of all, it was mentioned in the bio, I don't know where, that I am now teaching in a yeshiva, in a Hadar here in Dar Menachem. And I just want to say that I think one of my biggest wishes, if not my biggest, is that every single one of my boys would actually be able to experience the Torah the way that it's taught and lived in Hadar Torah. And in fact, one of my students is here with his father, his father went to Hadar Torah, and I went over to him. I told him, I said, look at that table. I said, you're looking at the realest Jew you're ever going to see in your life. When I was pointing to Rabbi Goldberg, and I mean it. This is the realest Jew you're ever going to see. So I think for me, Hadar Torah represents a place of emes, of truth, that is unlike any other place that I've ever been to or experienced in the world. And I'm thinking, again, it's all the memories is now from Cheder, but we had a Yeshiva project in which we were learning about the year in between, from when the Histagos of the Frierdiker Rebbe until the Rebbe accepted the Nesias. And one of the things that came up was the remarks that the Frierdiker Rebbe made about the Rebbe. And one of the descriptions that the Frierdiker Rebbe used was that the Rebbe is yashar, the Rebbe is straight. And I never heard someone be described as straight, as yashar. And for me, I feel that you can obviously feel the hashpah of the Rebbe in Hadar Torah, but very much you can feel the Hadar Torah as a place that is yashar, that it's emes. You can see it in the shiurim, in the way that they conduct themselves, in the way that they are. It's emes. It's a place of emes. And that's why, I think it was Tzvi Lipschik that was mentioning, that's why many of us change everything, because we feel the emes. And when you have emes, then Hashem sparks and we change. So that's what Hadar Torah is. You have emes, and there's no place like it in the world. And we are very privileged and very blessed. And I know that this place is going to flourish beyond our wildest expectations. It's going to be with the help of all of us. And every single one of us can do a little bit more to be more involved, whether it's financially, with your time, with sending people to the yeshiva, however it may be. We all have an achrayus to make this place flourish, be the greatest yeshiva. It already is, but even more so begilui. And we can all do it. Let's make it happen.
Okay, dinner will be served momentarily. Okay, I hope everybody's enjoying their dinner. We're now going to have a video from the Rebbe.
Special beginning, a special meaning, because it is the Shnas Hakhel. In the time when the Beis HaMikdash was existent, materially also, it was the time that the Sukkot as preparation for it had begun at the beginning of the year, to gather all the people, all the Jewish people together, not waiting for the Bar Mitzvah, but even the very little one, and even the Ktanim, the Pittlach Kinder also. And all these people together is the king of this time. And the Sanhedrin and the Amnosh and the Noshin and the very little children was together in the same place, in the same time, for the same purpose, to hear God Almighty's Torah and to take upon themselves to fulfill it during all the year round. So nafshis, am soll sein, jeder soll sich misachit sein, zu annoschen, benoschen, betaf, begeistcho, asche, bischerecho, mit welcher kann sich misachit sein. Und sie sollen sein, alle zusammen, kiishechot, belewechot, Hakhel, Davki, wie bisman azeh, was koomur, das noch die Ruchni ist. Verlangt mir noch mehr. Davki mitzadru, was ist nicht ein Beis HaMikdash kayom, da fahren Montmen und Mechturen, und Medlarem, wie mir gesagt in Hakhel, als darf sein, der Jiro Eise, Kol Hayomim.
Hi, my name is Yaakov Haberman, and I have a question. Does anyone know how many Chabad houses have started from Hadar Torah Bachram? It's a serious question. I don't know. Do you know? Does anyone have a tally of how many Chabad houses have started from Hadar Torah Bachram? We don't know? No one knows? Okay, we want to add another one. Whatever the tally is, we want to add another one. We have a Bacher here, or a recent Bacher. His name's Yossi Suarez. He's sitting right here. Him and his wife are planning to open a Chabad house in Lake Chapala, Mexico, about a year or so from now. And next week, him and his wife are going to be starting his fundraiser. So it's very important that we help Hadar Torah alumni, and so if you can support, please talk to one of us at the end of the meal. So and I just want to give a bracha as well. So Yossi, you and your wife, I want to give you and can I get a main from everyone, a bracha that you should have much success in bringing countless Yidden closer to the Eibishter, and that you'll give the Rebbe much nachas. Okay. So I came to Hadar Torah February 2021. I remember I was very pessimistic about life. I was 30 years old, not married, very lost. And I remember my first week, I was in Rabbi Wurzburg Shir. And any of you who have started Hadar Torah with Rabbi Wurzburg knows that in the first shir or two, he'll bring you to his room, and he wants to get a feel for who you are, what your story is, and he made a very clear piece of advice. And he says that when you come to the yeshiva, the Rebbe says 1 year. To stay in yeshiva for 1 year. And so, I thought about it, and I said, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And in my year, one thing that I guess really connected with me is that when life's not great and things are hard, all Hashem is trying to do is He wants a relationship with us. He wants us to come closer to Him, and that's how He brings us closer. And when I was at Hadar, In that year, I really, through Torah, learning Torah and connecting to Him, I saw so much revealed bracha. You know, within a year, I couldn't believe it. I finished my year, I got engaged, and it's not just me. I've now lived in Crown Heights for 2.5 years. And I'm just shocked because Hadar Torah, I've seen now, as of Monday, I've now seen 12 Bachram come through this yeshiva from different situations, turn their lives in complete different directions. 12 are now married in this last 2.5 years that I've been here. I couldn't believe it. And they're all having children now. So this is a very, very, very special place. It's a huge contradiction to what's happening in the rest of the world. It's complete opposite. The opposite is happening everywhere else in the world, and it's revealed blessing. So I would like to introduce Rabbi Goldberg, who I want to thank him for giving us a good portion in this world and in the world to come. Thank you, Rabbi Goldberg.
It's not my size. As it says on the paper, then I should speak about Hakhel. Not speak, but I summarize it. A nekuda. I'm looking for a nekuda. What can I say? The Rabbi just said in the video what we heard, the whole inyan from Hakhel to come to the ultimate goal, what this is, liyira, he say. To fear, liyira. That's what it says. Why liyira? May we be explained, because this is the only thing what is up to us. It says in Pasuk, Mo avaya lekecha sheil mimach ki'im liyira. This is the only thing. As the Gemara says, Hakhel b'dei shamayim, everything is at heaven's hand, but except Yiras Hashem. Yiras Hashem is up to us. And this is what Hakhel is all about. Hakhel is on the beginning of the 8th year, as it's very specified in the Torah, telling you exactly when Hakhel. A lot of simonim, as it says, B'chag, by Marisha, the Gemara in Seita explains why it's specifying only then and not somewhere else. Interesting, always check the calendar, and looks like Hakhel always right after Shemitah. Check it. Look, I have a calendar 150 years and never failed. Always Hakhel comes after Shemitah. It's not by coincidence. Why after Shemitah? Maybe we could explain. The Rebbe explains what is Shemitah. Shemitah is the sabbatical year, the 7th year. This is very similar corresponding to the weekday and Shabbos. 6 days, Sheshes Yomim Tavet, 6 days you work, and on the 7th day Shabbos, resting. What did the pshat resting? Resting means going to sleep on Shabbos. What means resting? It says, Yeshiva Bochim, maybe, because a whole day, the Sheshes Yomim Tavet means learning Torah. In the middle on Shabbos, they may take a little nap. Balabatim, but this is mainly this in particular Hakhel for the alumni, but they are, most of them are Balabatim. Balabatim is just the opposite. The 6 days of the week, they work, moved in the Hakhel, mundane involvement, and Shabbos, Kedesh LaHashem, only holy to the Rebishter. It's not the time to sleep. It is the time to devote yourself, to give yourself over, Nigla de Tere, Chassidus, mainly Chassidus, but obvious if they didn't have a chance to learn Nigla through the week, it is permitted. It says in Yerushalmi, then there was permitted Bikushi, it was very difficult, but they did permit ledaber divrei Torah b'Shabbos. Mele, you could also learn Nigla if you need to learn, fine. Of course, mainly you should learn Chassidus. This is the Shabbos day, but it is permitted. But it permitted. It was difficult, bikushi. But finally they did. Similar is also 6 years is what a person can work, maybe should, according to Yeshiva, there's even Achiyuv, you have to work. The Sheish Shonim Tizra Sadecha, Sizmer Karmecha. But when it comes the 7th year, you have to rest. And what is the resting? Shabbos Lashem. And Rashi says Shabbos Breishis. Just like the regular Shabbos, the weekday Shabbos. And this is the 7th year. Resting. What resting? Resting from moved in the Hakhel. And give yourself over to learn Torah. This is the 7th. The Rebbe said this is something that applies to everyone, every once in a while. I don't know if you have to wait 7 years, but yes, every once in a while, a person, and especially when it comes a certain special year, Shemitah, you have to apply yourself and give yourself over to get this year fully involved in learning Torah. Then the 7th year is a year of Torah. The 7th year is a year of learning. Comes the 7th year is finished. More, back to work, as I was before. Comes the Torah and says, no, make a Hakhel. You have to make a Hakhel. What is Hakhel? Then the Melech was standing up and everybody has to come. Anoshim v'noshim v'taf. And what they should do. And you should read for them different verses, different portions in Torah, speaking about the value of Torah, the value of mitzvahs, the value of Ayid, and everybody should be there. Whether you understand, whether you don't understand, even the little children should be there. They should hear it. The neshama hears, and it will have an effect on you. And Simchas Torah, it says, after we finish the whole entire Chamisha Chumshe Torah, what it says there, then after this, right after this, we take out back another Sefer Torah and we start reading from the very beginning. In what we read, you know, the announcement for the Chosen Breishis, we say, Matkifim, we have to read close, stick in. The end with the beginning. We never end. We have to always, once you end, there is a new beginning. There is a story of the Frierdiker Rebbe. He once came over to his father after Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is, everybody knows, this is a very holy day. And this is that day what comes with great preparation. First is Achedes, whole month of Elul, but you prepare yourself for it. Anil Deidi, then comes with Eideli. And so, this is, then you have Rosh Hashanah, one day, a second day, Aseres Tshuva, Shabbos Tshuva, a full week preparation. And then comes the Yom HaGodel V'Hanera, the day of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is Lifnei Havaya, very high madrega. You reached great. Yom Kippur, what could be greater? This is Yom Echad B'Shana. Yom Kippur had ended. The day after Yom Kippur is called in God's name, because they say, Lifnei Havaya, now you come back to God's name. The Frierdiker Rebbe came in to his father and he says, Tate, what is now? We already reached Yom Kippur, we reached the peak, the goal. Then what is now, what we're doing? He told him, Jetzt darf man erst anfangen dann ton tshuva. Now you first have to do tshuva. Yes. When you reach the goal, you reach the ultimate, then you first have to start. And then you really reach. And this is what has to be set with you and be with you. We're talking everything to, and this is what Hakhel is all about. Hakhel is to bring the Yidden after their learning, after a year of Shemitah where they were devoted Kedesh Lavaya, a whole year only sitting and learning, nothing else. I didn't have to do anything but uvden the Hakhel. Then what is now? Now you have to first start it. Now give yourself over to learn. Now it is in your hand. In Shemitah you have it, the Kedesh Lavaya, holy year. Now it is Hakhel b'de Shemayim chutz mir Shemayim le'yira. You should apply in yourself a yiras Hashem and bring it then where the yira will be lilmed, ulelamed, lishmer, ulases. Since we are in a Hakhel what is specifically and especially related to the alumni from Hadar Hatorah and those who are Talmidim and the alumni from Hadar Hatorah, then how would you connect this with Hadar Hatorah? I remember many years ago, my son used to come, one of my sons used to come always with me in Hadar Hatorah. You know, he was born into Hadar Hatorah. I was already there. And he was already a boy, about 6, 7, and he started learning Gemara. The first Gemara what he learned was Elo Mitzias. In Elo Mitzias it says, the Gemara brings, if you find something to find out if the owner had given up hope or he didn't give up hope, then the Gemara brings and says a certain description what if you find fruit, what actually speaks about grains, scattered in 4 ames, where this is very small grains, spread it in a large place as 4 ames, then a person will not come back to pick it up. He gives up hope. Too much work to be able to go and to go back and to gather it and put it into the silo. This is what the Gemara, and the Gemara uses the Lashon HaGemara, but it's an Aramaic Lashon. If he is Hadar Ose Vishatli, if he will come, Hadar Ose, he will return back. He went home. He already took all the grains. Will he return for those little grains? The Gemara uses Hadar. Then he came over to me and he says, now I know why Hadar Hatorah is called Hadar Hatorah. I said, what you find out? Because it is Hadar. They returning back. Original they were involved in Torah. The original were Torah. Now they're coming back to Torah. This is a place where they come back to Torah. This is Hakhel. We finished the Shemitah. They were in Shemitah. Great and fine. Before also they were great. But now they're really returning to the Torah. This is Hakhel. Now we're first starting. Now we're first going. The Rebbe should help. We should go until we'll meet the one we are waiting for. Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Korei Mamish.
Amen.
I gave it him. Thank you. That's good. That's great. One more. One more. Do it. Very good. This has been very good.
Thank you.
You did very well, Lance. Nice. Beautiful.
Please slow now. There will be a minute from Marv after benching.
Very good. Excellent. Very well. Right. Oh. Yeah, FaceTime too. Yeah, all the time. I love the FaceTime. Who's the T now? Yeah. That's the only part. Right. Oh, yeah. Wow. Man. Time is flying. There's walls. Okay. It's out of the box. Oh, that's all you're supposed to. I don't recognize it. Somewhere in the crowd, like the engineers. Oh, okay, yeah.
Excuse me. Before we bench, we're going to bench very soon, but we have one more video to give honor and credit to someone who's very important and instrumental behind the scenes of Hatorah. Not just behind the scenes, but someone's very influential. So, without further ado.
Yeshiva's called Yaakov Yehuda, Hadar Torah, which carries the name of Rabbi Jacob J. Hecht of blessed memory, was the first yeshiva of its kind, and for over 50 years caters to Jewish students.
It's probably the most important decision I ever made. You know, making a life change like this is quite an experience to come in and learn how to live life again in a whole new way, in a better way, in the right way.
Yaakov Silverstein enrolled in Hadar Torah in 1979, a program dedicated entirely for young men like himself with the passion for intense Torah study. Its atmosphere appealed to him, and the yeshiva became his second home.
Hadar Torah, a place that you meet your family. You come here and you meet brothers, your fathers, so to speak, the rabbis, they really take you in.
Shortly after getting married, Yaakov returned to Hadar Torah as administrator, and in 28 years since, he has assumed full financial responsibility. Yet the most meaningful role that Yaakov plays in the yeshiva is a mentor and a friend to many of the students.
I remember what it feels to be with students here. That was a special time for me, and I see the same kind of feeling replicated in students today. And I mean, they're all coming here to build their Judaism, their Jewish identity, to gain knowledge. We are very concerned that everybody should feel like a family here and relate to each other. And I felt that way, 30 years ago, and I feel that way today.
Yaakov has his eyes and ears on every single bakram here, whatever they need. There was a time when I was sick, and he found a way for me to get the treatment that I needed.
He really does care about the yeshiva. He really looks in helping and fixing the yeshiva in the way it should be, in the way it needs to be.
In addition to his responsibilities at Hadar Torah, Yaakov is also the director of NCFJE Food Pantry, securing funding sources, organizing volunteers, coordinating and distributing the essential produce and grocery items to hundreds of needy families week after week. The staff and students of Hadar Torah owe a special debt of gratitude to him.
I like the mic. The mic's good. Excellent mic.
So thank you all for coming. Reuven Kuden's going to lead the benching.
Is that him?
Listen, we all got old. Dude, I couldn't figure out how to put it into the Seder. What's that? This is for you. Oh, come on, you serious? Yeah. Well, we're gonna do a 5. So when you do it, you come on. I can't open the 5. What?
I thought, yeah, follow. Thank you. So nice. That is very nice. Oh man. I never had a black belt. How are you?
You were expecting that many, weren't you? No, I was not. I'm very upset with you.
I know you are. I was going to ask you how upset are you.
Supposedly this is you.
Okay, good.
Did you not have a black beard?
No, I'm ready. I want to get pictures to prove it. I'm serious.
This is my giving strong thing.
Maybe just the color of your lighting. Was it
I
dark
didn't
red?
choose it, but it was my turn to read.
Sure, was it dark red or?
I had a red beard.
How red? This was a copper red. Yours could be darker red.
I was reddish. Wow, more, even like to orange.
I remember when you were
I remember when you were orange. When I first came to Yeshiva.
It was my ate by my bishop.
Oh, really?
I had 5 guys that ate by me. Guys you don't probably know. Moshe Vogelshak, Kalman Rodeau, who lives in Pound Street, Moshe Haber, who lives in Sfaz, and Shlomi Kurtz. He lives in Yom Street. And Jacob. Stony Brook, right? My wife went to hospital. But that's a long time ago. So where do you live now? Huh? He's okay. He's supposed to come, but he didn't. I don't know. He said he couldn't make it. He's okay.
Miss having him around.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I like him coming like every Shabbos like before running.
Yeah. Now he's working. He's walking from where he lives, South Sullivan Park to Kew Gardens. It's an hour walk for Shabbos. He likes it. The dinner was very nice.
Nice turnout too.
What did he say?
Nice turnout.
The turnout was pretty good, yeah.
That's always my biggest worry when you go to the whole world.
Hey, you look familiar. You the guy. They have benches on the table. This should be. Where's my wife? That is me. Why? For what? I think it's me. God, I don't know. It's tough for me to tell. Why is the beard black? Is that me in the picture? Is that me? I have red beard.
I'm saying it looks like it should be just the color.
The what?
The color of the picture. Like against your black, it's definitely a different shade. Like, there's no question of that. It looks like more of an auburn in the picture.
That's a while back. Let me ask my wife. Where's Mary? Where's my wife? What happened now? No, he's he drinks a lot. Lately, I saw him downstairs. He had at least 5-6 drinks. 1967, I came. I told you already. Hello, David. David. That's funny. Are you serious? You kidding me? My first kid was born in '75. I'm serious.